Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hungry People Podcast, home of the hungry people. It is your boy, Michael Patrick Buckley, and my co-host, AJ Dybka. Dude, it's snowing right now. I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
30 degrees in Jersey.
Like, it was 70 last week, and now it's snowing.
It's going to be 70 like by Thursday, I think.
Yeah, I was going to post a picture on Instagram on my story. It's 22 today, supposed to like 40 tomorrow, and then 70, and then 40 and 50. It's just like everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if you do this, but on my app for the weather app, I have like a few different areas. So like I have Tennessee and stuff, and I had it on there when I opened my phone. I'm like, damn, it's going to be 80 this week. But it was like down there because it's like 10 degrees warmer down there.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I was like kind of excited. I'm like, I'm going to bike.
Nice. Got your hopes up. But hey, dude, what's going on? How you been?
I'm doing well. I'm drinking a smoothie. Like
nice, dude.
Yeah.
You gonna brush your teeth after or no?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna.
I don't know.
During the live for sure.
Okay. Well, it's okay. We can just pause it and put it all on hold. And
nah, I think people want to see that. Keep it interesting. Keep it fresh and new.
Nice. So what do you want to get into today?
We're gonna talk about oil. Now, there's a lot of controversy when it comes to this demon food. You have the McDougal's of the world and their low-fat plant-based stance. You have the 80-10-10 durian rider carb the fuck up mentality where it's like no animal products, no oil. Then you have the PUFA people who love carcasses and shove carcasses in every area of their body, except they do not touch PUFAs because PUFAs are forbidden. They're actually the cause of every issue and disease, including erectile dysfunction. So we're going to dive into oils. Which ones are good or bad, or any oil is good? Our stance, do we consume them? Can you eat them on a plant-based diet? Can you eat them as a carcass muncher? You know, all that kind of stuff. We're going to dive into everything. So stay tuned because we actually don't make claims like the rest of these fools.
Yeah, no, we do the best we can to not make any claims. But I feel like with the claim stuff, like, would you say that you need to have a source or some sort of evidence to not make claims?
No, all you have to do is go on Instagram and repost like a chart that's like seed oils are the devil, and then like dry fasting is the answer, and then like they have these like levels that someone just made on like Google art picture, whatever. Fuck. Like that's all you need. You don't need to study. You don't need to be a scientist.
That's such a good point, dude. So I think some of the stuff you see on social media is just ridiculous. And it's kind of scary, actually. Like it can just, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people just take it out of context when there is no context at all.
There's that, and people aren't thinking for themselves. They just heard the same thing over and over. So they just start to repeat it. And we've been there. I've done it.
Yeah, totally.
But at some point you have to be educated and think for yourself at the same time. Mm-hmm. People have a hard time doing both.
Yeah. So I also wanted to mention too that the stuff with like the studies in oils, like I have a bunch of studies that actually show benefits of oils in the diet and of replacing PUFAs with saturated fat. Now, dude, I haven't, like, it would take me weeks to go through all of them, like, and really read them, and I'd have to like throw my phone away. I'd have to like not work at all. I'd have to like hide myself.
Essentially like fasting. You'd have to like have no life.
Yeah, I'd have to hide myself in a dungeon, you know, to like, if I really wanted to go through and look at all these studies and dive into it. I'm just not gonna do that though, you know. So like I have them.
Even though I think that is good to be self-informed as well, we also have to understand that we're not scientists. We're open to misinterpreting scientific information.
Yeah, totally.
Like you could have a scientist be like, "Oh, well, there's a problem with this study because they didn't follow these steps," and we don't know that. Like,
yeah, right.
So there's only so far you can take it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is like I'll see on Twitter where people like post a study and then someone will comment like, "Oh no, it's like a bullshit study because this," and I'm like, dude, I don't know, how would I know that, you know? Right. But I will say I think it would be cool to one day like get into the research, but even still, it's like there's just so much research on so much stuff out there, you know? And it's like if you're on one side, you're going to find the research that says that eating meat's good, and you're not going to look at the other side. And then like if you're on like the pro oil side, you're going to look at like the studies that say, oh, oil is good. You know,
I'll even take it a step further. You might have the evidence saying one side is good, but then that same person who recommends the studies, oh, there's no study that does this. But then they also say fuck the studies, because when they were following the studies, they felt like shit.
Right.
So they're using the studies, even though they've confirmed through their own experience that they can't do that. But they still do that as their it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's confusing.
It's messy. It's really messy.
So anyways, let's just get into this, dude.
Let's
oils.
fucking do it.
Yeah,
coconut oil, is it a superfood?
Actually, I think coconut oil is. I actually use it to clean my teeth out. Yeah, oil. Yeah. Like I don't do it every day, but occasionally I'll do it. But it's funny because when I was on my like raw vegan journey, I remember seeing this kid, and he was like taking not like shots of coconut oil, but he was like getting in his mouth, and he was like drinking it, I guess drinking it or swallowing it. And he was like, it helps move lymph out of your body or something.
I mean,
and I'm just like, what? Like, how do you know that? Like, how does coconut oil move lymph out of your body? Or
maybe it gives him diarrhea or something.
Maybe
it makes him shit his pants. It's like,
yeah, it's almost
there's
like
lymph in bowel movements.
I mean, it might, but I just don't see how that's true or whatnot.
I have a quick story about oil. So when I first was eating fruits and vegetables, I was starving. I was so hungry, but I felt amazing. So I'm watching Mike Arnstein. I'm eating lots of tomatoes. I'm eating a few unripe bananas. I'm eating apples. I feel great, but I'm so ravenously hungry.
No wonder why.
So a lot of the nights I'd eat the chicken fingers and things because I wasn't vegan. But I remember the one night I'm trying to stay raw that day, and I go grab a bottle of olive oil, and I just start chugging the bottle of olive oil. Yeah.
That is, my God.
I chug like 2,000 calories of olive oil.
Was it good?
No. That's the thing. If you have oil on its own, it's not anything. If anything, it adds to a dish.
But you know, it's funny. Someone, so I, on Instagram, I reposted this one dude's story, or it's not a story, his post.
Did you get his permission?
No, I didn't. Because he was just totally, I mean, he was just basically saying like seed oils they are like actually the downfall of mankind, how they caused obesity, they cause this, they cause all of this, you know, and they cause all these issues in the world. And I just disagreed with it at all. And it's not to bring up the studies, but to bring up the studies, he is posting all rat studies. And I don't know, someone messaged me like, oh, well, rats are like pretty similar to humans in some way. And I'm like, what? They're
97% humans, but like a mushroom is too. So shut the fuck
up. So anyways, someone who is an ex-vegan commented on my post or my story and just said, try drinking oil and tell me how it tastes. And I'm like, no one's saying that. No one's saying it's healthy to do that. Even all the people out there who are like pro oil, they're not saying that we're just gonna drink oil straight up. Like that's just not like, who's doing that besides you, AJ?
One time in my whole life. But
yeah, like no one's doing that. Even still, if you add oil to your food, it's not like you're using like 85 tablespoons of oil. You know, you're like drizzling a tiny bit on there for some flavor. And that's it.
Right. Or to cook with or whatnot.
Yeah. Now, like,
no one's pretending oil is a whole food. We're not pretending it has all of its micronutrients and all of its fiber. So, you know, if someone's like, well, if you compare it to animal fat, like, yeah, there's going to be more of those nutrients or saturated fat or whatever in the meat, but the meat is a whole food. It's a whole whatever.
Right.
Whereas this is a refined food. Just like if you have a cup of sugar water, if you're on your bike, you're going to have fuel to pedal harder, but you didn't get vitamins and minerals.
Right.
And so is anyone claiming that? Like no one made that claim.
Yeah. Right. Now, I think with a lot of what we see in this world is like, you go to the grocery store and you see these dressings, and a lot of them are BS dressings, and a lot of them are like oil based. I'd say probably all of them are oil based, you know, but
or dairy based too.
It's not just the oil. They also have, like you said, they have dairy. They're probably loaded with chemicals and other
Just kidding. Some do have sugar.
Yeah, they probably have sugar, but like they have others. There's a bunch of other crap in them as well, you know. And people, they're just loading up on their salads, and they're not even. And also in the salads too, you have the animal products. You have the cheese. It's usually it's like a Caesar
Cheese, the
a Caesar
eggs, the
salad.
chicken.
Yeah, it's not like they're just doing like none of that. But like once again, what would get the blame? I don't know. I think it's all the above. You know, it's everything.
Right.
It's not just like one single it's not just like one single ingredient or one single food that's causing the issue. And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and if you flip that around, a lot of people get frustrated because people will say sugar's the only demon. It's the cause of the downfall of mankind. It's in everything. But then they flip it and they say the same exact thing about oil. Well, which one is it? Well, we know they both have problems.
Yeah, right.
But they're acting as though the one thing is creating all the destruction. That's where our source of frustration comes from,
right?
Because it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anything. Mm-hmm. If I go around yelling at everyone, posture is the reason why your life sucks. Like it's really important to have good posture, right? But am I going to go around doing that? It makes no fucking sense,
right? Yeah, no. You
People
can't
think that only these one targeted things are causing all the problem. Gluten is all like everyone's being poisoned by gluten, when there's really people who actually are affected by it. But to act as though if you have some and you're a healthy person, it's destroying you. It's a really unhealthy mentality to have. And I think that that's where it's overlapping into the oil. Mm-hmm. Now, MP, I want you to cut in here and say what you wanted to say, but then I want to do an overlap of some more of the generalizations made.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I was gonna bring up here. Is I pulled up this guy's post, and it's just like he doesn't like. Just from what I learned from you, you know, is that it's really based on the individual, and it's based on actually having context. And I think that this is actually a really good comparison because Simon Hill, I think, from Plant Proof, I think that's the last name, Simon Hill. He made a clip or a reel for his Instagram page about animal protein versus plant protein when him and Rich Roll did their podcast. And in the reel, during that specific time period that he had, they were talking about that, Simon did an unbelievable job, like giving actual context on what was going on. So he said, like, yeah, this is like basically what he says, like, yes, there could be benefits to incorporating animal protein in your diet, and like certain amino acids, you know, for growth and this and that. But like when we're looking at long-term health, we want to make sure that we're doing the right decision, and those plant sources are going to be awesome to use. And he was saying like, oh, well, people say like animal protein superior. And he was like, superior to what? Like how? You know, if you get the same amount of protein on plants, what's superior about it? But still, he was like, it's a really good video. Actually, I would love to put it in the comments here, but it was just so cool to actually see him give some context rather than just like total generalizations. Like, oh no, all animal protein is horrible. You know, you should only be eating plant protein. You know, he's not saying that. He's saying like, yeah, you can get benefits and there's this and that in here, but like you can also do it on plants. Whereas like someone like this, he's just saying, no, oils are like, they cause so much damage. I believe one of the things that lies together all the mitochondrial dysfunction are seed oils via 3 main mechanisms. And he like goes into these mechanisms that he talks about. But it's just like, I still think that it's just generalizations. Every human on this planet should be joining forces to raise awareness and end seed oil consumption once and for all. Like, it doesn't matter if you're vegan or carnivore, this toxic sludge helps cause everything from cancer to Alzheimer's. It's hidden in every single diet. Like, you can't just say that, in my opinion, at least.
See, Simon is a really, really smart guy. I don't know a lot about him, but when I've listened to him, I could tell like this guy is a commendable person who knows what the fuck he's saying. Yeah. And he's tried things on himself, but he's also a real researcher. He's been all over the world. He's you know, written some amazing things. And when I hear him speak, I truly believe that he knows what he's talking about. And I'm not even saying he can't be wrong, but I'm also saying that he's coming from a place of understanding that most of us are not. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other things I really respect is he also gives you the pros and the cons.
Yeah, right.
He's not like, oh, that person's a Republican, they're automatically evil forever. But doing that in dietary stuff, like there's no instance in which oil could be healthy in any regard. But then you have all these people who do like 95% carbs, 5% protein and fat, and they look like they age so quickly, in my opinion. Like you see that kind of stuff. And it's like, if you would have taken some oil, some olive oil or things, and they would have had that over the 10 years that they ate that way, would they have had better results in how they feel long term? And that's, I think, a healthy question to ask. But then you have these posts like this where it's like, nope, you're demonized, almost like it's a religion. It's almost like a cult, going back to these types of things where there's shaming involved instead of discussion. How can we ever really figure things out if we can't discuss them? Now, MP, what I wanted to do for the people listening, because not everyone might understand exactly where we're coming from, because you and I have a pretty good foundational like understanding of this stuff. But basically, oils are in everything. You know, you cook with oil, you go to the store, you buy something, there's going to be oil in it. A lot of these plant-based meats are like oil based or have like a large percentage of calories from oil. People put oil on salads, they cook with oil, deep fried stuff. We all agree.
You go to a restaurant, probably everything that you eat,
all the pasta is laden with oil. Then you have these people who come in on YouTube and stuff like John McDougall, the plant-based doctors, Durian Ryder. They're like, oil, like, eliminate the animal products, but the oil is just as bad, because a lot of people do have diabetes issues. The two biggest ones are heart disease and diabetes, right? They're like two biggest killers.
Obesity. You could probably put obesity up there.
But if you're obese, you're going to probably have diabetes or heart disease. Like
right.
So my point being that these people are usually overweight. Now, if you're having something that's super calorie dense, oil is the most calorie dense food, 4,000 calories per cup. Naturally, you're going to want people to shy away from that, because if you have an apple, it's 100 calories, but you have a teaspoon of oil, it's 100. Like, you're not going to feel satisfaction or get really any nutrition from the oil. So it's understandable, especially working with people who have dietary diseases of excess, to want to remove the oil. The problem, in my opinion, is when you have perfectly normal, healthy people who are now shying away from every bit of oil, creating some sort of disordered eating because of that. Now, I'm not saying there isn't problems with oil. I do think there's a lot of problems. I do think that high heated oils are harder on the gallbladder. I think they are challenging for the liver to digest. Like, it kind of, you could feel, if you haven't had oil in a while or fried food or anything, if you eat it, you'll feel your legs are heavier. Your blood isn't as like smooth. I remember watching a Harley video. He had chips for the first time in like 4 years. And he's like, I woke up, my legs just felt so heavy. Like, my blood flow didn't feel as good. And you'll have these little charts of McDougall showing like an hour after animal products or oil and how the blood is sticking together. Like, this is all, real, and it's all commendable to shy away and not load up on oil or think oil's a superfood and just guzzle it. But even, when I was super underweight, I put some fat and oil in my salad, and it brought me back to life because my body was so low in fat. Now, there's a difference between a really high quality olive oil and some cheap oil people use that are high heat and just garbage. So I want to create, an understanding that there's a difference, but at the same time, what do we get out of completely being afraid of these things? Like, people will claim that vegans are afraid of, what did they say, MP? Like, recently in that post, it's like, vegans are afraid to look at like,
to look at like someone eating meat, dairy, and eggs, or look at, is that what you mean, or no?
It was something like they're afraid to eat meat. And it's like, no, why would be afraid? And it's this whole like culture of eating, not actually about health. That's what I'm trying to get at. If it's healthy to include some because you're really ravenous and it sounds like it's going to be a good meal, but you don't eat it because you're told it's not healthy, that is not a good relationship with food. You should be eating to look and feel your best. And if you're a healthy person, you have to create so many boundaries around that. That would be my question.
Yeah, totally. And I think even for myself, like, when I do use oil, when I cook my food, I definitely want to use a better high quality oil. Like, I will say, like, I don't want to go to the store and just get like the cheapest vegetable canola oil you can find, but I also don't think that even that stuff is like as bad as everyone's claiming it to be, even though some might, it's like not the best, but um, I just think that there's so much out there that that's causing issues to one's health, and just to blame it on vegetable oils, seed oils, any kind of oil, it's just ridiculous. And
Well, it's a really important point what you just said. When you're making these meals, I think that you're adding it to make the meal. You're not adding it in like an attempt to add to your health, or like,
yeah, right.
Or, and you also aren't ignorant to the fact that it does have problems. So you're adding it to your food knowing like, oh, maybe it's not the best thing ever. So you have like a healthy relationship with it. Like, just like you go out to get some sun, you don't just burn yourself every time you get some sun. Like, yeah, if you get too much, you're going to burn, but I'm going to get some because I want some, and like, it feels good. It's necessary. So you might be necessary to be able to cook that meal so that it tastes good.
Yeah.
And you eat this healthy meal. That's still a win, right?
Well, it's kind of like the McDougal stuff, where he's like, hey, if in order for me to get my patients to eat the food, we added a little bit of salt, we added a little bit of sugar. And I guess you could use it for this. Oh, well, to get maybe to like get the vegetables in you, add a little bit of oil to them when cooking, which I honestly don't do it very often, but I'm not like opposed to doing it. Like, I'll add some oil to my food.
But it's this all or nothing approach, right? That's kind of the downfall of it. Yeah. So if someone is like, oil is just bad, so if I have it, I just go hard. So it's like fried chicken is the same as stir fry broccoli with a little bit of oil, and sweet potatoes. Like, they say it's the same, or they see it as the same in their head as being a fail. They failed, right?
Right.
So it creates that disordered eating where it's like, what is it? Dr. Lyle, he says that health is a continuum. It's not this like you start and you end and you figured it out and it's great.
Yeah, it's
a continuum. Yeah. It's constant. There's always a flow of stress, flow of dietary stuff, a flow of, financial issues and relationship issues and stuff. So that's the healthier way to approach it, where it's like, did you meet the minimum requirements? Did you go for a walk today? Do you get enough sleep? I know we say these things every time, but it's important for you guys to hear it over and over to realize how important these things could be, because you could eat an oil-free diet and you eat the best organic meat or the best raw vegan, but you don't move your body at all. You're really your hormones aren't going to work properly. You're not going to enter deep states of sleep. So it's better to include good foods, but also just eat. Right. So it's not like, oh, I just eat whatever, whenever I feel like it. Still have fruits and vegetables, still eat these whole plant foods, but you don't have to necessarily, or the meats or whatever you eat. But sticking to that almost becomes more stress and more difficult than actually being healthy. Like, you could be healthier if you just rode your bike or worked out a few times a week.
Yeah. And then it just comes down to like questioning every single item that you're putting in your body, which I get it. If you want to live a pure perfectionist lifestyle where you're putting only the best in your body, I mean, I can totally get that. Good for you. More power to you.
And it's especially if you have good results, right? Like,
yeah,
if you
right.
have good results, that's amazing.
Right. It's also too, like, you walk outside and there's cars driving. I mean, what do you think you're breathing in?
Brake dust.
It's funny because we were biking when I was biking down in Florida. And we would like get behind these big trucks when I was with Rain and Leo, and they had the fumes blowing out. They would say that like, oh, it's just B12.
Right. But you see the difference. Let's say there's someone who avoids that, right? They're able to completely avoid that massive amount of pollution into their lungs. The thing is, someone like Rain or Leo, they're pumping their body so much. They're getting so much fresh air overall.
Right.
That, they get that in. It's not good, but their body can handle it. And it's the same with the food thing. It's the same perspective. It's like, eat mostly good so that when you do have bad, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
but I think that just like this overriding statement that oils are bad, it just can't be said. And you got to bring in the person on hand. Are they an athlete? Are they moving their body? Are they sleeping? Are they even utilizing the oil properly? Like, sometimes I feel if you do, I mean, I can understand like maybe the keto people, if they're like fasting, they're probably utilizing it. But I think like getting like good long workouts in actually are able, like, you can even burn some of those fat stores and you use that, but it's just to say that oil is like the worst ever. It's just, I don't know. It's just really, It just gets to me. But also too, it's also like, are you eating like a ton of meat and then also eating a ton of like other kind of oils, like oils in your food? Like that's also the question as well, or a ton of cheeses or a ton of dairy, like if we get rid of all that stuff, all the saturated fat, and we have mono and polysaturated fat, I mean, I don't see that necessarily being that big of an issue. So I think like doing both could possibly, if you're doing like a ton of that, especially if you're doing fried foods, like you said, like it's just totally blended out of context.
Yeah, I do want to get specific into some of the problems with oil, because this is a episode about oil in general, not us just defending oil or defending certain stances. At least that's the way that I came into the podcast today. But I think that there is a lot of challenges and potential issues with oil. What I mean by that is, if you, like I said, if you do have a weight problem, I think that that's important. If you have like breathing issues because you are slowing down the flow of your blood flow and things, that could be an issue. If you have erectile dysfunction, because I remember John McDougall saying a drop of oil can inhibit a certain amount of blood flow to the penis for like 6 hours.
Wow.
So, you take someone who's perfectly healthy, they eat oil, and they're like, I just had oil, I have no problem. But if you do have people who have problems, if you are sensitive with your insulin and you have diabetic issues, the oil can coat the cells and keep the insulin from doing its job and getting the carbohydrates and sugar into the cell. So that's something you would want to look at as preventing you from getting healthier. Now, if you feel as though you're really bogged down from oil, if you feel like you get, any kind of like swelling or edema or inflammation in your liver, gallbladder, that's probably a sign that you don't handle your gallbladder isn't producing the right amount of bile, and it's too stressed out there. So that's another reason to shy away from it. If you have a really, really high carb, high sugar, high calorie diet, you would want to limit fats and oils, because you're having so much carbohydrate come in. You wouldn't want to mess with your ability to absorb those sugars through too much fat.
Yeah, well, it's also too, it's like those oils are it's just straight fat. So if you are doing that and you're doing like more fruit juice too, I can see like, okay, like, yeah, maybe the fruit juice is a little harder to get into the cell. It's a little harder to absorb. But it's also like too, if you are working out and you're an athlete and whatnot, is it really that big of a deal? I don't know.
The context is important. That's what I'm saying. So MP, the point I was making was, these people who are suffering from these issues, who aren't fit and healthy, like they're having diabetic issues, and yes, they also do need to exercise and do these things, but it's something important to look at and not be ignorant to oil being a potential problem with the challenges that they're facing. Because I don't feel that good doing the oils. Like, I mean, I've said to you a lot of times that when I consume some of these foods, I feel like crap. But if I put organic olive oil in my salad, it feels completely fine. So I think like how you pay attention to how you feel, and just notice. Like, I feel as though if we did a self-study and we were able to like, oh, I feel really good on this and I feel better avoiding this, I think that's a healthy approach. But just reading something like, sugar in your smoothie, or sugar in your salad dressing, or fat in your salad dressing is always going to kill you. So you 100% avoid it all the time. That's not really a healthy approach to view it, in my opinion.
Right. What about like, I'm sure in most like pizzas, there's probably oil, but
if you go to a restaurant, any pasta pizzas, I worked in a restaurant for fucking 15 years. They take the pasta in this big thing after they've cooked it. They take a 5-gallon jug of oil and just pour oil all over that motherfucker. And they do the same thing with the pizza. I mean, you need oil to do the pizza dough, but the amount they would do, and then they pour oil on after the pizza was cooked. And I'm like, this is why I feel like a fucking 2 out of 50 when I eat fucking I never ate that.
Right. So there's definitely like nuances with it. That's obviously a case where they're just totally loading up in the oil. But I remember even Doreen would say, "Oh, look, it's a high carb pizza, and look at the box. There's you can tell there's no oil in the pizza, right. But like
there's still oil, but it's so little that it doesn't matter.
I'm sure it just depends on like the pizza company and how much they use. But
this was amazing to me. So I was eating raw up to Woodstock. We came to Woodstock. And we started biking. And, we were burning a lot. I was burning a lot of calories, especially because I was working really hard to try to like not lose.
Yeah, you were
guys.
pushing
And
yourself.
It was hot. It was hot, and I'm the only one eating dates because I'm already so skinny. I don't have much reserves so I'm eating dates the whole time while we're riding. So we come back on that hard day, the one we went up to the mountain, and I know I was dehydrated, but I had to walk like 10 minutes to get water, and we had the pizzas there, right? So I eat like 5 slices of pizza, but I'm so thirsty, but they still went down so easily because my body had just worked so hard. So in an ideal setting, I would have had the water, then had the food. It would have digested even better, but it almost didn't matter. And that's what I'm saying about where people are so hyper focused on the food and the time, but if they actually were paying attention to these other things, like being fitter, they'll actually utilize the food so much better. And then you have a little more wiggle room when it comes to eating, because if I ate 5 slices without doing but like, let's say I was at home before that and I just ate 5 slices, I'd be like bloated for 2 days, but instead I was flat and shredded. And I'm just like, cool.
Yeah.
And that's what we mean by the context.
Yeah.
Someone's going to say, no matter what, canola oil is just always horrible, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're in a desert and there's only or you're in the jungle and you find a backpack and all the food has oil in it. I'm not going to eat this. Well, no, you would live longer and healthier if you had it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what we mean by the context.
Right. And it's also like, are you someone who is just lazy and doesn't have a job and you're just eating potato chips and other kind of junk food that does have oil, that probably does have oil in it, and not moving your body whatsoever and staying out till 4 a.m. Like, I mean, what do you expect's going to happen with your health? I mean, you can only imagine that it's just going to probably go downhill unless you just have the best genetics known to man. But that's the thing, is that once again, a lot of these foods, yes, they have a little bit of oil, but there's just so much else that's in these foods that aren't getting the blame either, So, I don't know.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Like I was saying with the chips, or I guess if you just like do like potato chips, but, yeah, it just bugs me that the oils get the blame, and then they'll say that, oh, instead of doing oil, we'll replace it with like with meats and stuff. Well, it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to eat dead animals. So,
Well, that's another important point. When people actually when they start eliminating foods that have oil, what happens is you just eliminate 90% of junk food.
Yeah. Right.
So yes, you're not consuming the oil, which I do think is a factor.
Yeah. It's all a factor,
but you're also not getting the preservatives. You're getting the sugary fucking candies and cakes that have tons of oil and whatever. So it's like process of elimination. You almost have to eat whole foods, which can feel good and healthy. And then you'll you'll eat the meats, let's say, and all the credit goes to the fact that you're not eating oil. But it's like, yeah, you're not eating potato chips and drinking soda either. You fucking like,
right.
Did people not see that? That's what's like confusing to me.
So even someone like me, like I eat mainly a whole foods diet. I still do like some processed foods. I'd probably say like I'm 90 to 95% whole foods. So it's like if I'm somebody who like has a little bit of oil, or like I want to make my food taste a little better, which I usually don't even do that. I'll just use water to cook. But if I want to, I'm cool with it. Or if I have like a veggie burger that has some oil in it, like it's not like, is my health going downhill because of the 0.01% of oil that I had in my dinner last night? Like,
yeah. And the continuum is over a year, let's just say, or over a lifetime. So it's not as though you can measure it because you're not having it every day. Yeah. You're not even having it necessarily every other day. So it's like over the span of 30 meals, you might have oil 3 or 4 times. Yeah. Which is just so small.
And the thing is too, is like, you'll feel that. Like, if it's really that oily and bad and disgusting, you'll feel that and you'll know how you feel and you won't want to do it again. If it's that bad for you, like screw the studies, screw whatever it says.
Exactly.
If it's really that bad for you and you don't feel that good, then don't do it. Just learn from it. Like I remember I went to Pasta 2. It's a restaurant here in Pittsburgh. There's like,
I went to the first one. It was pretty good.
It's actually pasta and then TOO, Pasta 2. It's not like TWO. Gotcha. Nice try, Jay. And I just remember I had to like create my own order. So I got pasta. Oh, hey, add some vegetables, and I'm sure the vegetables were probably cooked in oil. And I said, oh, you want to just toss in some oil? They bring the plate out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
They soak that bitch.
it is drenched in olive oil. I was like, all right, whatever. I ate it all, dude. I got home. I couldn't stop. I don't want to say it, but I went to the bathroom for like, dude, 30 minutes. It just kept like honestly, it was like it was like an intestine cleaner. It like cleaned
Right.
not in a good way though, but like
Right.
it really did like clean me out. But like that's not good though. Like you don't want to do that. You don't want to like eat shitty foods to have diarrhea, and it wasn't diarrhea, but like to make yourself feel like shit. But like but I know now, like I'm gonna go to a restaurant like that or any restaurant where there's no vegan options besides like pasta and vegetables. Hey, keep it light in the oil. Like you can add a little bit,
right,
but keep it light. You know, I don't want to have a plate full of olive oil where that's all it tastes like. So
yeah, if you say to them no oil, they either won't know how to make it or they're just going to put oil anyway.
Yeah.
So it's usually better to say, hey, can you keep it really light oil? Like it kind of upsets my stomach, something like that. Right. That's how you communicate with these people. And I think what to take away from this above all else is if you feel good or bad doing X or Z, use that as one of the main motivators, not just these Instagram reposts.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think too, it's like, I think if you're eating a certain food that you didn't normally eat, and you did start seeing yourself like maybe have some more fat or put on some weight or whatever, then like, yeah, you can maybe bring it back a little bit or whatnot. But I still do believe that like it is a bit of a calorie thing where like adding the oil does add more calories to the food, to your diet or whatnot. So you might not even be realizing how much you're eating by adding that in there, you know? And especially you go to a restaurant too, you know, they might have like this, oh, this is X amount of calories, but like, who knows with the amount of oil that they put in there, it's probably raising it. And like, you know, and I understand too, that there's mechanisms that your body goes through. It's like oxidation or this and that, whatever, you know, your body's going to take care of it. It'll handle itself out. Especially if you're not doing it all the time and if you feel good too. So.
And if you believe in the calorie model, which it seems as though more and more most people do, where it's like calories in, calories out, all of a sudden you could go over your calorie amount with oil without even noticing. Like if you ate a salad with oil and without oil, probably wouldn't feel any more satisfied, maybe a little bit, but all of a sudden you could easily add, you know, 200, 300, 400 calories. Or same thing if you put that on your starch dish, or, you know, you cooked up some steak and you put oil in the pan or doing whatever. It's easy. It's like a hidden calorie. We're not noticing how much extra you're taking in. So if you're having a weight issue, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, I still feel like there's so much more to be said on oil and different kind of oils. We actually didn't really get into that. But we'll have to do another episode talking about high heated oils and all this kind of stuff, the different kind of oils. We'll definitely get into it. But yeah, definitely more needs to be said on the topic of oils. Just my conclusion and my final thoughts is that you got to take into account yourself and what you're doing with your health. You know, are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you, I don't want to say like enough. I don't want to say like, oh, drink a whole, I don't need to drink a gallon. You know, sometimes I only drink 64 ounces, you know, but like enough water. Are you eating enough? Are you moving your body? Are you getting fresh air? Are you getting sunlight? Do you have great relationships with your friends and families? How's your job going? You know, like you got to take all this into account before you say that oil is the worst thing to put in your body. There's just so much else to consider besides the fact that seed oils are the cause of obesity. So, yes, you know, we know they're hidden in a lot of foods. It's true, but like I think AJ, you had a great point earlier. What's like if you eliminate eating the junk food, you eliminate like how much food that's out there, you know, and a lot of that probably does have oil. But yeah, so once again, my final thoughts, I think there's just too many factors out there that are the reasons why someone's having issues gaining weight, et cetera, and it can't all be blamed on one food product. So AJ, take it away.
Well said. Yeah. I think that, again, I'm not for it. I'm not necessarily for eating lots of oil because I don't feel good doing that. But I also feel the same way about adding sugar to things. So I think that they can have their place. I think that cooked food can have its place, raw food can have its place. There's people where I feel more comfortable that they eat meat because I don't think they could pull off a vegan diet, and vice versa. There's people who can't restrict meat well enough to enjoy it in a minimal amount in a healthy way, so they have to eliminate it completely. We're removing ethics from this topic necessarily, but I feel as though there is just so much nuance to each individual. We got to remember we're individuals. We have to take into account how we look, how we feel. Do we enjoy the food? Are we satisfied? Are we thinking about having the thing that has oil and we would love to eat it, but we're not eating it because we're told we're not supposed to, even though we feel completely fine doing it? Or are you in a situation where every time you eat it, you feel sick, you feel fat, you feel your digestion's messed up? Like, those are healthy discussions to have with yourself to give you a better context as for you to decide what you should be doing. And that's my stance. I want everyone to stay satisfied, eat enough, take care of your body, think about these things, really think about them, take the time, maybe do a little bit of an elimination diet to just see some things are a little more sensitive than others, but don't do that forever. Figure it out, see what works best, and eat to live. Eat so that you can go out and live your life. We get so stuck on the food thing and thinking about food, reading the research, like MP said. We could just read it. Let's just feel fucking great. Let's get out there, let's live, let's make some money, let's make some love, and let's stay hungry.
Yes sir, well said, AJ. Stay up, be great. Always keep it 100, people.